Okay. Now, the thing about HINDRAF is it really, like I said before, it grabbed the imagination of us, because it really sort of put itself out there with a lot of grandiose ambitions. One of it was that a planned rally of 10,000 Indians to submit a memorandum to the British High Com. Basically, the idea was to support a class action suit against Her Majesty's government, for bringing Indians to Malaysia as labourers and exploiting them for 150 years. And the thing that really caught my eye, I remember when this happened, was
you must have been very young.
Very young. I was very young. I was very young. I think I was still studying that, I think. You demanded 4 trillion USD. US dollars, sort of basically 2 million USD for every Indian residing in Malaysia for the 150 years of exploitation. Now, one thing, YB, I have to ask, considering two things, considering that this is a monarch that till today will never admit that they stole the Kohinoor diamond, a monarch that has done crimes across nations, right? It's known, it's already written, it's reported and all that. Do you think that, I mean, and for them to entertain your suit would invite other Commonwealth countries to come in and demand for their pie of the stolen fortunes, right? So do you think that when you did this, that they would actually, this would actually come to fruition, or was it just your way of sort of bringing HINDRAF to the public eye?
See, you must understand, I was a trained barrister in UK. I studied law there, and I believe in their system. So normally one would wonder, why sue the British government when the injustice is happening here?
Exactly.
Right? Okay. But normally addressing any issue, any legal issue, I go to the core of the matter. The core of the matter is, when the British left us, they brought us into the country 200 years ago, exploited us for 150 years, and left us just to fend for ourselves. So when they left the country, they left us with a constitution. But the constitution did not provide sufficient protection for the Indian community. We didn't come here voluntarily. We were brought in as indentured labourers. We were given various promises of land, for example. If you serve as a indentured labour for 2 years, you will be given 3 acres of land, and for each male offspring will be given an extra 1 acre of land at the end of the 2-year period. That was not given. Now, after 150 years, when these people were born in the estates, 4 or 5 generations, they have never stepped foot in India. They do not know how India looks like. Probably most of them in the estates did not know that Malaysia actually achieved independence. They were cut off. In 1957, things were different. Their views were not taken. They have built temples there close to, 200 years? Nothing was done to protect their temples. Nothing was done to give them a land for settlement or guarantee that they will have a place in this country. Nothing was done. And they just left. And, our forefathers, there was some elite group. Elite Indians, yes. They were not brought in. They came on their own. Samandan probably had businesses in India. He probably, Samandan and, the elite Indian class then, who monopolized politics then, who were invited. I found that they were invited by the British government to form an alliance. So the British officials invited Samandan, invited MCA and Tunku, to discuss, because they didn't want the left groups, to take over the country. So it was kind of orchestrated. The independence was orchestrated, whereas our rights were not given. So fast track, having been a lawyer, having faced discrimination myself as a student, I was not given a place to study here. I had to go to England, work my way up. I was doing all odd jobs to sustain myself. Coming back, again, I didn't really feel it. But until M. Moorthy happened, it opened up my eyes. And then one after another, things came to my attention, the demolition of temples and whatever not. So when I went to the root cause of it and analyzed what actually transpired, what happened to the Indian community, why are we in this state, I realized that our rights are not guaranteed in the Constitution. So the Barisan Nasional, UMNO that took over, UMNO then was different. When they took over, they continued the policy of exploitation by the British. They exploited the Indians, and then in the 70s when rubber prices fell, they started acquiring the estates. Companies were Guthrie and Saibdam, you were selling off large chunks of land, and the people became displaced. And study has shown that from 1970s onwards, right up to year 2000, 800,000 Indians were displaced. Now, at that point of time, probably our population was 1.7 million, and 800,000 people are displaced. Almost half the population are displaced. Now, the United Nations guidelines are very clear on what to do with displaced community. People normally become displaced because of natural calamity, war. We didn't have war. We didn't have natural calamity. We were ordinary, hardworking Indians in the estates. And overnight, we were kicked out from the plantations. Where do we go? No housing, no alternative land, no alternative jobs, nothing. So the people built houses in the fringes of the cities. They were called Rumah Tinggal, Rumah Haram, and all that. And many people from the estates were stateless. Their issues were not addressed, and until they were in the estates, the issue of stateless did not come up. But when they moved to the cities, and then the issue comes up because the children can't go to school. In the estates, they went to the Tamil schools. But in the cities, they can't go to schools. They can't get a job. They can't register themselves with EPF and SOCSO. They can't get a license, motorbike license. So these issues are very serious issues that should have been addressed right from the beginning. So not only did the British neglect us, the government also neglected us. So going back to the core of the issue, I thought the best way, because these people here are not going to. When I filed the suit against the United Kingdom government, by then I would have sent almost 200 memorandums to the then Prime Minister Abdullah Badawi with regards to temple demolition, education, you name it. Nothing was, no response, from them. So I decided to sue the British government, not only to draw attention, but to actually hold them accountable. Whether I get compensation, I didn't know. I didn't calculate the $4 trillion that you mentioned. It so happened that I filed the suit, and then after that, I went to Washington to have, because certain meetings were arranged with the Foreign Affairs Committee. So I met a journalist there, a Malaysian journalist, and he interviewed me. And that night, he asked me, well, I did say in my suit that I'm seeking £1 million for each and every Malaysian citizen. For each and every Indian. Malaysian of Indian origin. And, he took a calculator. Then, those days, I don't know, he couldn't get the figure. He said, it's okay, never mind, I'll get it to the internet. And then he reported it was $4 trillion. I didn't know,